Welcome to Heroclix Borderlands. I'm your host, Shay McClure, bringing you the meta-casual perspective on Heroclix, sharing my insights, thoughts, and experiences with other players who love this awesome game at all levels just like I do. Whether you are playing a casual home game, local tournament, or at a regional or national event, taking on the latest meta team, this is the podcast for you. All comments, suggestions, or questions can be directed to our email at lostinclicks@gmail.com. That is LOSTINCLIX@gmail.com. Also, you can private message me on AC Realms under the ID of Colossus TN. Or you can go to our Facebook page of Heroclix Borderlands where you can message me or just read the latest articles and videos I have run across about this wonderful game. I will say it's still just me doing this podcast, and I'm very lucky to have great guests kind of join me. This is episode 034, Searching for Bobby Fischer, and we are going to have a great guest, a icon in podcasting, an icon in Heroclix. We're going to have Edward Shelton from the Starting Over podcast. You know him as Darklogos. So listen in, enjoy what all this podcast is. We find out more about him, probe into that intelligent mind of his, and really try to come to terms with the new competitive Heroclix and what it takes in our mindset to be more competitive. So sit back, enjoy, and let's see what we get.
This interview with Edward Shelton is actually going to be split into two separate episodes. Due to the length of our conversation and the amount of information that was given, it was decided to, for efficiency and time's sake, to split this into two separate episodes. In our next episode, we'll be going over the development of Phoenix Nest and his opinions on the competitive mindset and what to look for in players, a high-level player. And this episode will go over getting to know Edward and talking about the recent Wizkids announcements. So sit back and enjoy this. Hopefully you enjoy both of these episodes. So it was recorded on March 11th during the day. So sit back and enjoy.
All right, Heroclix fans, I am here with Edward Shelton, otherwise known as Darklogos. It's going to be great. How are you doing today, Edward?
I'm doing great. It's here. I'm awake. You caught me on the Spring Forward weekend, and I was out salsa dancing last night. I was like, yeah, man, I got plenty of time. I come home. I'm like, it's 1 a.m. All right, I'm good. 1 jumps immediately to 2, and I'm like, oh, gosh. I forgot I lost my hour. So I arrived at church a little late, but we're good to go. I'm more conscious than I am on a Monday.
Hey, there you go. That's always good. Well, as always, we like to get to know our guests, and I've got a double 6-shot of questions. That's a double 6-sided dice of questions. We're going to go through them just to kind of get to know you. You give us your honest feedback, your honest answers, and we'll just go from there. They're a little random. They go all over the place, but it's going to help me get some insight into the type of person and Heroclix player you are. You ready to go?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So question number 1. When did you start playing the game? What set?
Mutant Mayhem, and technically it what got me into the game was the City of Heroes Statesman figurine.
Oh, I love that figurine. I love playing that game. I love that.
Yeah. I still cry for City of Heroes.
I do. I remember when it shut down, went free for play or play. Yeah. That was like the death knell. I was like, too bad. But that's cool. Okay, so Mutant Mayhem, it's a pretty good set. It's a good time to come in. City of Heroes. So number 2, this is your second pip on the die question. What was your attraction to Heroclix? Well,
it was cheaper than the action figures at the time, and it was more detail. Well, it was a small detail, and then you gotta understand, like when I came into the game, it's like 05, and so you have like these busts and these like hyper realistic toys, and then you want to like put those things around your house and whatnot, and then those things cost like $100, and that's really when I was still like buying comics hardcore, and I'm like, I can never afford this. Like I'll supplement my comic habit versus my bust habit. And then I saw Heroclix, and I'm like, all right, cool. And then when I found out it was a game, then it was on. And then I was like, my chess brain kicked in, and I was like, yes. And I played at home, by myself, Wolverine versus Sabretooth, not knowing the rules completely for my first starter. And I was so happy. Like I was an 8-year-old again.
Oh man, I gotta say it's not too far from my experience. I actually started in Ultimates, so I think that's a role right there.
Yeah,
with the Thor, Ultimate Thor, and all that, and it was a fun set to get started in. So it wasn't that? It's just a little bit before Mutant Mayhem, I believe.
Yeah,
I remember my sets. Yeah. So okay, so I think people remember the first figure they ever pull. So do you remember that first figure?
Technically, the first figure I ever remember pulling that I cared about was after a bunch of boosters. It was Mutant and Mayhem's Gladiator. And I was like, finally, I can be able to fight these guys. Oh, no. Oh, no. Like, I misunderstood what these points in this game meant. Yeah, so lessons were learned.
Oh, there you go. I like that Gladiator though. I'm a big Gladiator fan. But hey, let's jump into what is your favorite map of all time and why?
Truthfully, if I go way back, it's a tie. And well, there's a 3-way tie. The first one I pull out when I'm just want to be honorary to my local players, and we have Golden Age, and it's the Coliseum map. Okay. It was in Monsters and Mutations.
Okay.
Set. It's a big, huge map that technically can fit 4 players, but it's open. It has elevation on the corners, and it's a square map. It's not a rectangle map. It's a square map, like almost like the classic. It is the same size as the classic maps.
Okay, I know what you're talking about now.
And then on the you have the ladders that indicate that this transition from elevation 1 to 2. And if you don't know that, you think there's no way up there because you're used to that little 1 to 2 sign.
Okay, yeah, that is old school. Yeah, that's a great map.
In the middle of all that, it's like maybe 3 squares of hindering terrain. And I'm just like, come at me, bro. Come at me, bro.
That would definitely be a fun map there.
The second map is folks that are also remember Crisis. Remember time zones. Time zones. You just put the time zones down. And the time zones didn't really have any straight rules about how you could place them, but the idea was you're supposed to place them in like so that they fit on the map properly. But the rules never said that you had to do it like in quadrants, and there was no like dotted line. So like in my venue at the time when I was in Tulsa, what we would do is we would place a time zone, and you would do something just to screw your opponent, and then your opponent would place another time zone to screw you, and then the third one would be placed like right on top the 2 other time zones, and then the last time zone is placed just to rectify any errors that have been made. Like, you can royally just mess people up with some time zones. And then, I mean, my last but not least, it was the Indoor War of Light map, and the word is not Yismalt, because that's not the map. It was all blocking, and what's sad is that I've used this map so many times. I forgot the name of it, but I've piloted that map to more tournament victories than I care to admit.
Wow.
So that was my map for because it's the Red Lantern map. Oh gosh, I feel so bad because I should know this. Like, this is like I go and reach for this map all the time.
You know what it looks like. You don't need the name. You just throw it down.
What it looks like, and then everybody's like, "Darklogos, we thought you were hardcore, man.
You are hardcore, man.
We thought you were hardcore, man." Hold on, wait, because I'm going through my little reference website real quick. Gosh, it's War of Light. Oh, ranks.
Okay. Yes. I took a brief time out for about a couple years from Heroclix when that thing came out. But I remember when I got back in it, everybody talked about that map. that map was a dominating map. So.
Yes. Definitely considering that ranks defeats a core concept in HeroClix is range is king. And ranks forces the player to look for angles and take actions that maximize angles, not just the fact that I'm able to shoot you from downtown in my lawn chair while drinking, a strawberry smoothie. Like, it forces a lot of intellectual laziness from players to be questioned. And not only that, you have the little areas on the map where you can like damage opposing players or yourself. So knock back into that, mind controlling characters into that, using those squares to activate. There's a lot of tricks on ranks that are just great. It's just as long as people like realize like, yo, those tricks are there. But yeah, that was my jam. That got me through way more competitions than I'd care to admit.
So I'm going to take it. The maps that you favor are ones that you can do some crazy exploitable shenanigans on.
Yeah, you want a definitive. You want definitive advantages for your tactics with maps. Like, I'll tell people this. When we got rid of battlefield conditions, the new battlefield condition is your map.
Correct. I agree with you there.
Yeah. Your current battlefield condition is your map. And the problem comes in is that people will design teams and they're like, I can take on everything. And then it's like, bravo, you can take on everything. Now I put you on this map. Can you still do what you're supposed to do? Oh, I got elongated starting areas, and your tempo is based on a standard starting area. Were you ready for that, homie? I don't think so. So now I have an advantage because I picked the Wonder Woman map, or a Genosha or something like that. So people don't think about maps enough, but that's my rant.
I agree with you. 0 points or 0 point conditions that you can add to the battlefield. And I mean, I agree with you. It is an important part of HeroClix that's kind of overlooked.
Yeah.
Hey, let's jump on. This is our 5th pip on the die. Let's see. It is, what is your favorite power in HeroClix and why?
The tactical part of me says prob, but the realistic player in me says I use support too much.
Support? Wow. Okay. So why do you like support so much?
Support functionally, I mean, definitely old support. Old support was beautiful. New support is great. It's not as broken. Classic support. Oh, wow. Great. Heal for 6.
Oh, yeah, that's fun.
Classic support. Oh, gosh, man. Bring that back and be annoying. Here's my thing with support. Support does something for the tempo of the game that most people don't realize, is that in Phoenix Nest, I talk about action exchange.
Okay.
And if it goes like this, if I spend 3 actions to do something and you negate my 3 actions in 1 action, then I have an action advantage.
Yeah, you get a +2 to your action total to there.
Well, yeah, I have 2 actions to do whatever else.
Right.
Now, let's again say you spent 3 actions, and I negate that in 2 actions. So I run my guy to the medic, and my medic completely heals back all the damage. Okay, I still have another action advantage in that turn. Plus, you're tokened. So, like Devin talked about leadership and taking actions off and all that. And, new support, you can't prob it, which actually makes it a lot more balanced.
Right.
But realistically, if you look at the power of support and how the average player thinks, and again, I'm primarily a defensive player.
Okay.
It's that when you're focused on bombardment so much and you fail to get that kill shot down, support just kicks in. It's like, well, yeah, Tony Zuko, screw you in the last 3 actions that you just did.
Yeah, true. Just wipes it all out.
Yeah. So there's other ways of layering that like a cake, but we don't have time for that. But yeah, I like support.
Wow. I'm going to say I've not seen a lot of support. well, people who support. That's a weird statement.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's interesting. That's the first time anybody's ever said that's one of their favorite powers. But hey, I'd say that makes me think about it. Okay, let's go to 6. We're going to kind of move on. I want to know, where did the name for your podcast come from?
I did a show about this not too long ago where I did revisiting starting area. Okay, so I've talked about the politics maybe briefly before, but I'll give another Redux summary without me being totally abusive to the situation.
All right, well, so we'll give you free leeway. Go for it, man.
Okay, so initially I saw HC Realms was crap, and people were leaving figure reviews like, this is great because in a tournament I rolled 5 crit hits with it and he didn't die, and that makes it a best figure. Yeah. And you would see people like, yeah, that happened to me too. High five through the internet. And I was like, y'all are stupid. and I'm like, y'all are stupid. And mind you, I got mentored by some great cats on the TeamSpeak or Ventrilo for HC Realms, and they were telling me about, yo, man, this is how you run this game. Don't play this figure, play this other figure. So I'm taking that in. I'm taking Scott Crampton's articles in.
Oh yeah.
That he put out, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
y'all are crazy. Yeah, so I like Glass Captain and I came out literally like at the same time.
Okay, wow,
and,
okay.
Yeah, and so there was no like AV section. Like he and I caused there to be an AV section. You got to understand that. There was just general discussion. So we would put our stuff in general discussion, and I wouldn't say we spammed, but every so often we would, bump our little thing up to the top of the page. And so I had like 3 or 4 episodes of starting area, and Typhon came to me and he was like, you need to stop being, a parasite on my website. And I left. I stopped putting up starting area. So some time passed, and I see more and more stupid stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to redo the show. I'm not going to call it starting area. I'm starting over my show, so it's going to be the Starting Over podcast. And I remember when I was trying to think of my intro and outro, and the biggest thing that came to my mind is sort of me lamenting about losing starting area. Definitely for those first few episodes, it's I said like, we all have to start over sometime.
I know, I love that tagline. That's a great tagline.
Yeah. And that was something that made me sort of come back and remember, starting area's there, but now I'm on this. So Starting Over podcast was primarily just there as a podcast to tackle meta problems and give people a meta insight, because you have to understand that there was only one Heroclix podcast in the beginning, and it was Clickscast, and it was hosted by Steve and Gouda. And anybody that's listened to me knows I don't have love for Steve and I don't have love for Gouda. I have choice words, and I respect your show because I won't say these words here.
Okay.
about those guys, and mainly for what they were doing at the time. A lot of our anguish that we had between competitive and casual was just stoked by Steve and Gouda. Okay. And Gouda in particular, I remember when Daniel Joyce won his first world championship, and he said the most blatantly disrespectful thing I ever heard on a Heroclix podcast. And he said, he's not my Heroclix champion. Wow. Whoa. Like really? It's like that, homie? Wow. He worked hard, and because he played Nightcrawler and Metron, he's not your Heroclix champion. And I sort of, and that ticked me off. And I've told, and folks be like, man, you ain't never told Steve or Gouda to his face. Now I never told Gouda because Gouda left, but I wrote like a dissertation to Steve and why I did not like him. And I never wanted to meet him as a person. But the thing is, people don't understand all your maps, whether they're Grid Reality or Wizkids, are done by Steve.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're all done by Steve. They've been done by Steve since they went almost, I think, like before current Wizkids. So even old Wizkids was getting maps done by Steve.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like all your Grid Reality maps, they're done by Steve. So for me to sort of say that, knowing that if I ever win Rocktober, I have to work with him to make a map.
Wow, that's pretty impressive right there.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like going back to the question. Yeah, that's where my show came from, and then what really took off the show for a brief period when I was on Blip.tv, I said, "This is how you beat Sentry and Void," and during that period, everybody said the sky was falling. Sentry and Void was unstoppable. He was the God King of that era. Right. You know, none shall question the God King Sentry and Void because of the infinite combo loop with him. And if anybody who doesn't know the infinite combo loop with Sentry and Void, is the goal when you play Sentry and Void is to get your opponent down to one figure. And if you get your opponent down to one figure, they can't do enough attacks to kill Sentry and Void because when he would be KO'd, he just turns into Void. Void regens or does, I forgot what it is. Like, I think he regens or something. And then he's able to turn back into Sentry.
Right. And
Sentry and Void and just start the whole thing all over again. So you can't really kill him. So I pretty much broke down like how to beat Sentry and Void, and it's sort of been uphill. I mean, sorry, it went up from there. And I've had moments where I made good tech predictions, and then I've had moments where I made really bad tech predictions. But so that's how my show sort of took off, and I've done many things since then.
Oh, yeah. And it's a great show if nobody ever watched or has listened to it. You have it mainly on YouTube, right?
It's on YouTube. And then I'm doing Twitch as well. But I'm trying to get that. I'm trying to get that Twitch money eventually.
I hear you. Yeah, you're doing great content. So that finishes the first dice of questions. Let's move on to second dice. And this is good because I believe, Edward, you have one of the most unique minds in Heroclix, and I know you have one of the most tactical, analytical minds. So I really want to ask this question: what is the hardest thing about Heroclix?
I'm going to limit it to one thing because I could. Anybody that's listening to me knows I can speak a dissertation. The hardest thing in Heroclix right now is the judge form, like bar none. And I'm going to say this as respectful as I can. Okay. As a person who studied organizational leadership in multiple different arenas, the problem comes in is that if I have a rules question and your judges deem that my rules question is stupid, that you don't have to answer my rules question. It doesn't matter if I've been in this game for 8 years, 10 years, hell, 15 years, or if I'm just a new guy. My question is deemed as stupid if the judges think that my question is stupid. So what that does, it says to the community, number one, we don't respect your input. Number two, we don't respect your time. And number three, if you appease us and write things the most perfect way possible, then might bestow upon you a nugget of information from on high, from our high deity Wizkids. And I think that's the hardest thing for the game right now, because I have legitimate questions and debates with my teammates about rulings.
Right.
And about
I assume y'all are pushing the rulings. Y'all are trying to get the maximum out of the rulings, right? That's why you're always
sometimes it's basic stuff.
Okay.
Sometimes it's basic stuff. I really want to make that clear. like when Darwin came on.
Okay.
There we were like, okay, so what is choose a power? Is choose a phrase?
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying there.
Is choose a phrase, because if I use my teleporter and I assign an inspiration Or when I pop an ID card and the inspiration comes out and it gives my entire guys that are adjacent that power, did I choose it because I chose to place that ID card? Like, there was a lot of stuff that's just basic that would think like, oh, yeah, that's obvious. But when you get high level players together, it's like, you know what? I'm going to try to get the maximum out of this piece. I got this Darwin. You don't got no pickup powers. What do you got? You got an entity? Okay, I'm gonna pop that. You use it. Oh, he's not using his entity. Oh, but he's got supreme intelligence. Well, he chose the dial and he chose to use those powers on the dial. I had one of my boys argue when I was trying to bring back the Brainiac Skull ship. He was like, look, man, you got that extra dial. You chose to use those powers. I'm like, it don't work like that. It don't work like that. So he was like, look, there's no really wording for choose. And so this comes back to those things that Wizkids does. When there's a guy I listen to named Ravi Zacharias. He's a great guy. He helps me with theological and philosophical thought. But he says this, it's like, don't destroy the fence without knowing why the fence is there in the first place. So Wizkids will be like, I see a nice big rabbit on the other side of that fence. So I'm going to blow down half of this fence. I'm going to go hunt that rabbit, not knowing there's freaking ghouls and goblins and werewolves on the other side of the fence, ready to just be like, oh, the farm's open now. and while they're hunting rabbits and stuff, the werewolves and goblins are coming in, pigeoning the farm. And so that's my problem with Wizkids, is that when you have a rules forum, and you have your main point of communication, and you can't maximize your point of communication either due to the fact that you don't have the staffing volunteer, you don't have the culture, or you're just darn cheap and not willing to hire someone. That's a really poor thing for the company, and that's really makes the hardest thing as a player to deal and play Heroclix. Because if you don't know the rules, you're just making stuff up, and it's homebrew. And nobody likes homebrew.
No, I agree with you there. I mean, I had never thought about that, but yes, inconsistent judging, inconsistent being able to get rulings on that. That's just good. It makes the game harder to deal with. So that's good.
And they delete old rulings too, which when they delete all the old rulings, that pissed me off, because there's things that I'm like, so what does this do now? And I have to ask my judge ahead of time on how they're going to pre-rule it. So just watch. I think the whoever can do, and I'm going to say this on this, just let everybody know. I try to way back machine Wizkids. You can't.
No, really?
You can't. Yeah, you can't. I tried looking up something simple as the Proteus ruling, and I couldn't.
Oh yeah, because they archived it or got rid of it, or
yeah, they got rid of it, and it's not like saved on the way back machines on the internet. So like, I can't pull up those forum posts.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes you having to take a book to a venue and go through, how are you going to rule this? Because this could happen with my team.
And screenshot. Screenshot. Like, before retirement, everybody just screenshot entire forums. Everything is about to retire. Screenshot that stuff.
Before it disappears into the vastness of the internet. Yeah. Where we can't get it.
To the void of data, wherever that's at.
There we go. Okay, so let's get to number 2 on this second set. What is the first thing you notice about a new figure? And I'm really interested in this. When you look at new figures that come out, what's the first thing that jumps out to you?
The first thing that jumps out to me every time is, where does it fit in the game?
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Okay, so I'm gonna be like an old man in my rocking chair and on my porch. It's like, sit next to me, youngin'. I'll tell you all about the Heroclix.
I will be okay. That's
in my day. We used to use Perplex with one figure, and now y'all fancy Perplexes are able to do +2s, and then only on certain characters, but also gives them 8 different powers. That's not what Heroclix is about. So the thing I ask myself when I look at a figure is, where does it fit? And when I mean where does it fit, usually is 2 categories. Is it the hero we need now, or is this the once and future king? Okay, and there's those two categories. And my first student, Tom, he's come back and he sort of made me remind me more of that once and future king category, because when I got super competitive this last few years, I've looked at the hero I need today. You know,
okay, gotcha.
Just so much. But so let's look at the hero we need today. The hero we need today usually comes in as like, thank God you helped me deal with Unimind. Thank God you helped me deal with Jakeem. Oh my gosh, I can play something other than these three figures that I've been playing now. Okay, so those characters already stand out. Right. They're your old giant slayers. They're the new gods that replace the old gods. You know, they are the new dogma that, 80 different podcasters are going to say is what you need to be building with your team every time. Like
so I'm sorry. You're talking about Green Arrow, Chase Green Arrow, and Darwin?
Yeah, Bizarre Green Arrow. Sorry, like Bizarre Green Arrow. Green Arrow ID with Chase Green Arrow. For a while, you're playing Unimind in a full deck of cards like it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Like whatever it is. And you'll have guys like me sometimes. I'll be like, man, I don't know about that Unimind. And I was wrong. I was wrong. I went on to 2 clicks from KO.
I remember that one. I listened to that.
And then I specifically said, I don't think this is going to win Rocktober. Wow. I had to step back from that. I even did a show. I was like, you know what? I was wrong. I was wrong, people. I made a mistake. I had to repent for that one. So there's that. Okay, so now you go into that once and future king realm. And that once and future king is very important because there's a lot of people that play Golden Age, like a lot.
Right.
A lot. Okay, and then there's people that are looking to the future and saying it's not good now, but it might be then. So when you look at those people that play Golden Age, there's things that they introduce that don't necessarily fix Golden Age problems, but they do keep Golden Age fresh, which is one thing you can say, Wizkids, bravo. Like I give you a hand clap. After 6 years, I finally am able to play a full X-Force team, or whatever your theme is. They all have the right costumes. That matters to people. I'm making a joke, but it does matter to people. Like they have all the right costumes. She has the Boom Boom name with the right costumes. Okay,
she will fit on that team.
She will be on my X-Force team. So she's not Tabitha. Anyway, so you have those people, and there's some like dirty Golden Age teams that people can make. Ask my locals. They know. I'll bring out that old dark magic. That's what I call it.
Oh man.
But also there's mechanics that you can say like, hey, this is here. Let me sort of put a pin in it. In 3 months from now, 4 or 5 sets from now, let me come back to that figure and let me see if I'm able to just shock and surprise people with this figure. And you'll be amazed. There are a lot of figures that, because people are stuck on the new shiny like a baby with a pair of keys dangling in front of them, they'll lose sight of good stuff as quick as 3 sets back. And so because of that, you're being able to like resurrect like old stuff. And they'll be like, Lazarus, is that you? And then it's like, yes, and I have seen God. And it is like, and you will too. Boom! And you lay them out, and then they're like, "What happened?"
Wow!
Lazarus.
Yeah. So, and that's the perfect time when you can figure out that one that could be future. That's when they're very cheap, isn't it? If you're trying to pick them up, you get those. It says deals you can get. Do you have one right now that you think? And let's say retirement's coming up. Is there something that once we hit retirement, this thing's going to be good? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Okay, I'm gonna scale it.
Okay,
I'm gonna scale it. I'm gonna say you want to be a local champ, or you're gonna do like hardcore meta stuff. If you're going to be a local champ, one character that is definitely I feel is going to maybe have a come up is Cable.
Oh, the 120 point.
Yeah, because you can play two of them and just light people up. And it's multiple reasons. Like reason number one, you don't have Nick Fury in the pocket.
True.
So you have your stealth and all that stuff starts to matter a little bit more. Number two, you have decent range. Okay. Number three, you have mobility, and mobility is the name of the game now. Like with the overdrives and all the freaking what's those King Sharks
and taxis,
and mega taxis. Yeah, they're all over the place.
Right.
So you being able to be like, phase behind your back, sucker, after I got TK, I killed your taxi. Come chase me with all your melee punks. Yeah, like they're going to have a place. Oh, I'm on elevation 2 now. You can't touch me with your overdrive. So, and I'm not saying like, oh, this isn't going to win a rock. I'm just saying in your local, Cable is going to be good. Okay.
He's very accessible too to players.
He's cheap.
Yeah.
Like if you can't afford $1, you are playing the wrong game.
Preach it, brother.
You are in the wrong game. You're in the cheapest collectible game there is, and you can't afford $1. You need to work about like go get your housing situation taken care of. Get some fresh water and some good food in you first, okay? If I was to say who is on the come up, and this is a little bit more wider, and it's going to be this: whoever had to fear Green Arrow and Hawkeye. That is the real transition.
You're talking about
for competitive play. Whoever had to fear Green Arrow and Hawkeye.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Now is on the come up, which is a really wide net. And that way my teammates won't kill me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hear you.
But here, and I'll unpack it just a little bit. I'm going to open that chest up. Okay, but we're not going to go fully look inside, but we're going to see the light, the glimmer of the light come out.
We're going to let one sin out of the Pandora's box, right?
Yeah, we're going to promptly sit back on top of that sucker. Okay. All right. And so here's the problem. Pocket Nick, Pocket Hawkeye, Pocket Green Arrow, even before the Chase Green Arrow. But currently, those cards were, those two cards are stupid. Just ridiculously stupid. And before that, before she got retired, Pocket Black Canary. Like, way too stupid for what you could call in for 5 points. Okay, so because of how strong they are, and they either are able to cut a swath through a multitude of mini dudes, or just completely wreck a big, a tank, you needed 2 cards to cover your bases. When those 2 cards retire, the question comes in, which one of those tactics becomes more dominant? The tent pole or the swarm?
Correct.
And you could say both. You can say both, and that's legit. But which one statistically becomes more dominant and is winning more? Not like second, third consistently, but like top table, got the winner's crown on them. Okay. They got that olive reef and the gold medal. Okay. They're straight Olympian level. Then you're going to see people standard play either Hawkeye or Green Arrow. The problem comes in is that working those characters as permanent fixtures is a lot more difficult than we want to admit, because we've been intellectually lazy. Just how we've been intellectually lazy when we had entities. We have a new intellectual lazy that we had to deal with. It's called 5-point burnable ID cards. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now we have to deal with that. Okay. But here's the thing about that little tricks that we pull off. Okay. Once we have this anti-serum called Hawkeye or Green Arrow playing standard, this counter pathogen rises up and it says, I have swarm. You can't deal with this, Green Arrow. 50 Tyrannoids on your fields. Deal with that.
Oh, wow.
Deal with that. Blah. And then that's like, we need the hero for today. It's Hawkeye and it's Storm ID, Pulse Wave, running shots. We need it all. Okay. And then, after a while, then you'll find something that's like, I'm protected Pulse Wave. And I only take 1 click of damage. And then you go stomps all that. So you're going to see this counterbalance up and back and forth. But the problem is you can't pack both Green Arrow and Hawkeye. And if you do, you will lose. Now, no, I say that right now. I have to preface things. I have people come back like 3 months. They're going to write on your show like Darklogos is on that stuff, man. You don't know what he's talking about. But for real, I have to preface it like right now. That's the prediction in the forecast. All right, so that's my answer. My teammates won't kill me. I won't let more out of the box than that.
No, but I will say you made us think, because that is a great point that you just made, and that will be interesting to see happen, and we will hold you to your prediction.
Like the internet has always done.
That's it. Let's hit number 3. As always, I started this Illuminati. I like to interview the Illuminati. I consider you one of the Illuminati. So which one would you be if you had to choose an Illuminati?
Black Panther. I got to ask a question. I have to ask that question. You could have just looked at my. My channel. I have my HeroClix player ID card. Black Panther is right there.
Well, I thought so, but I was going to give you an opportunity.
Nah, it's like next question. Like they didn't even need to ask that.
You don't. I know what I'm going to be, so I'll add you to the Hall of Fame. The Illuminati as Black Panther. I knew that.
I thought I was going to play with you and be like, yeah, man, I'm multiple man. I just wanted to do that. I want everybody to be like, what, multiple man? I'm like,
Right, Matt.
It's like, what is this? I'm like, yeah, because you need spies everywhere. And then you're like, oh, that's brilliant, Darklogos. We're like, no, Black Panther. Just had to mess with y'all.
That's awesome. Okay, number 4, and I think this is a very telling question.
Okay.
Are you a prob or perplex man?
Prob, and we keep it rolling. Prob.
No. You know it for a fact. It's all prob. Okay, That's always good.
You can have an 18 attack and still crit miss.
That's true, and it keeps you from crit missing. I got you. What is the biggest change you want in HeroClix? Ooh, this is a loaded question for you.
The biggest change that I would want in HeroClix is not possible because it's an organizational change in the Wizkids staff.
Okay, so you're looking at organizational at a corporate level.
Yes, because I sort of touched on before about the rules forum and about WizKids' current culture. And there's some things that I've speculated with them being bought by NECA that if you look at NECA's profitability, it is like over 50% WizKids. And when you have so when you have a company that's not doing that hot and you have a comic industry that's sort of in flux right now, folks don't understand when they took away that X-Men license for Bust and certain collectibles, that hurt some companies. The Fantastic Four too, like that hurt some companies, and NECA was one of them. And so I feel like right now, WizKids acquisition was the thing that saved NECA from going under. And so they are siphoning money off of WizKids into other things. My problem with WizKids structure is that the same designer for HeroClix is the same designer for D&D minis, the same designer for Dice Masters, any other product that they have. And so functionally, if your main corporate company is losing money and they're siphoning money away from you, then you do not have money to reinvest back into your company to expand and make your company better and have more profitability. So inevitably, you stay the same. And the problem will come in is that if there's a giant flux in the market, they will not be able to react properly because they don't have the staff to sufficiently pivot. And that's my problem. And they're starting to be competitors to the market. And I, if anybody looks at the Angry Joe show and they saw those Street Fighter minis or the DBZ minis, and I'm not coming in here to snipe people for another game, but I'm like, that's real competition. And if you look at the maps are very similar to HeroClix maps. So I would say like they have a year. They have a year as an organization to get their stuff in gear, because I used to play Universal Fighting System, and I know Jasco Games, and I know the cats that they have. Those are competitive cats. They know what a competitive scene looks like. They know what they want their environment to be. They have clear-cut vision because they were competitors. Wizkids is not run by people that play competitively.
Okay, yeah.
So they keep making new mistakes. Okay. And so Marvel and DC are not hesitant to hand off their licenses to multiple people. And if Jasco Games can prove that they can kill it with DBZ and they can kill it with Street Fighter, I'm just saying is that they go into Marvel and DC. And again, I haven't seen the system. I've just seen the minis and I've seen the map. Okay. But if they can prove that they can kill it with that, Heroclix is not going to be dead, but it has competition, which is what it needs. So it gets its head out its butt. But that's the change that I would make.
There we go.
All right.
Organization. That's a great take. And I agree with you. That biggest change. I mean, more product focus on Heroclix to kind of make it better. So sounds like they're spread a little thin up there.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a belief in what you're going to create, but let's just ask this question and see what you would do with it. If you won the World Championship, and that's the goal of a lot of Heroclix players, what figure would you design, and can you describe it?
Soul Brother. Now, most people do not know Soul Brother. So I said to myself, if I ever won, like when I first started, I said, I'm going to make John Stewart. Okay. Because John Stewart sucked up until War of Light. And then I got War of Light John Stewart. And then I'm like, okay, I don't need to make John Stewart. And then I'm going to make Dr. Voodoo. And then I said to myself, I'm like, well, we got Dr. Voodoo. He's not bad. Brother Voodoo is awesome. But then I'm like, man, I need Dr. Voodoo because I want to make a character that could kill traits. And so it would make sense. And he would use blood magic and he would take clicks of health. And then his new starting area would be blank. And then, based on how many traits he killed, and he can't be healed past that point. So I had this whole mechanic in my head. And then I'm like, what would be better? He had a brother who is is in soul form, and he walks around with them. And then when Dr. Voodoo died in one of excursions with the Avengers, and I think Doctor Strange was away, Soul Brother just came up and y'all killed my brother. I possess all the Avengers. It's your fault, Doctor Strange. It's your fault. You couldn't get your stuff together. And he possessed all the Avengers to whoop Doctor Strange's butt. And so I would make Soul Brother, and I would give him a mechanic sort of similar to the current Professor X. And I would roll a d6, and then that's how many opposing characters within range, not even line of fire, because he's a soul, within range that he could get. And I would give him a 6 or 7 range. And it's I can possess automatically 3 characters. I'm taking that and that. And it's they do mine. You only can do basic stuff with them. It's I can only attack. So I can't outwit you or use your traits or anything like that. But I'm I'll just take your guys. They're my guys now. Oh. And then that would everybody would be gunning to kill Soul Brother. And he would be an ultra chase.
An ultra chase. You make it even harder to get.
I'm joking. He wouldn't be an ultra chase. We need a common. He'll be a common. Everybody will have him. Oh. And then we'll see the Soul Brother meta. See, and then he gets bonuses for being with Dr. Voodoo. Any character named Dr. Voodoo or Brother Voodoo, he gets bonuses. He gets prob and +1 stats.
Prob and +1. Wow. That would be a great common figure to have.
Yeah, but that's how he works in the comics, though. But he'll be 150 points.
Okay.
He'll be 150 points, and he can't summon ID cards. That'll make him balanced. And he can't pick up equipment.
It's all about limiting and balancing, right?
Oh, yeah. That's why I'm going to make him 150 points. He's half my team, but I took half your team.
That's true.
Half my team, but I took half your team. So we're sort of playing fair now. There we go.
that would all work, man. Wow. That has been one of the most entertaining double shot of 6 questions I've had. I really appreciate that. That's great. Okay. Big thing. And it just came up and it was kind of a surprise, maybe for some, maybe for others. But let's talk about this announcement from Wizkids. They put 2 things out. Let's first talk about the proposed rule changes. They're not doing a lot, but they're going at, we thought they were done, but now they're looking like they're going to put out another rules book, it looks like, with the Batman. So what are your thoughts on these rule changes? We don't have to go into a lot of depth of them.
I will hold my thoughts off. And last year, when they talked about, they got the feedback on poison.
Right. I
figured they would do something with poison. So I could see that. Barrier might get nerfed. And I'm speculating. Right. Because currently Barrier is hella strong because they were stupid and they made the only way to deal with Barrier as improved movement destroys blocking. Right. And they didn't put a lot of those characters into the game because comic book wise, there's not a lot of those characters. So yeah, with improved targeting, destroys blocking nerfed, which it should be. They may limit Barrier down to 3 squares, or they may limit Barrier in some other weird way. I don't know. I don't think that they're going to change any other core powers because I think plasticity has found its place in the game. I think shape change has also found its place in the game. These are like old powers that people were like, about. They made Pulse Wave balanced. Perplex Prob Outwit. The only thing I can see them doing is maybe making it if you're adjacent to the character that's in stealth, or you could outwit adjacent characters. Okay. But if they did that, that would be a huge change of direction of the company. They balanced Invincible and Impervious, Invuln, Toughness all have their own roles. I don't see them making huge pack changes other than addressing poison. Everything else is fine. I hate to say it, it's almost perfect. Almost perfect.
And I think from looking at what they've said, it looks like they're going to try to improve some language and maybe try to make it a little bit more streamlined. I mean, I guess one thing I want to ask you is that a good move by Wizkids to consistently look at this and make some changes?
This is funny because this is the one where I think everybody's overreacting on.
Okay.
I know it sounds weird because the rules change all the time. It's just that we've been stuck on old rules and then we finally got new rules and we're finally mastering the new rules they put out. And then people feel like the blanket or is getting yanked from under them. And, there's stuff, looking on the top of their bed, like what the heck just happened. So yeah, I get why people are mad. I don't think this is the one to be pissed off about because the only thing that could get better is poison got better.
Okay. So, so this is a good move by Wizkids.
Yes.
Yeah. Good move to kind of shore some stuff up. Yeah. Okay. Here's the big one. And I think this caused a lot of uproar. It's affected my own thoughts. Okay. The National and Origins announcement. If people don't know, they are just holding Nationals at Origins. Worlds is now being moved to an undisclosed convention in the fall. And there's a lot of speculation going on right now what convention that will be. So now we're only going to have Nationals at Origins. Could have Worlds at Gen Con like they used to, but we don't know. So now we have these 2 separate events. What are your thoughts about them waiting until now to let us know? And the thoughts about, is this a good move? Forget about the timing. Is this a good move to separate Nationals and Worlds?
You remember I said about earlier, maybe an hour and a half ago about Wizkids organization?
Right. Yes.
And then what I would change?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. and I just say this, it's I'm just a dude that runs a Heroclix team. But I feel like I've had more organizational leadership than Justin Zoran. I feel like it because I've said this on a private board and I'll repeat it publicly and I'm probably going to end up saying it in the show. It's bad when you have the communication with the company to its player base. You have a forum and you don't talk to us. And then we play Mother May I to talk to you.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not that you don't have communication tools. You fail. You have what we have here is a failure to communicate. Like literally. The idea that any of us in the working class have the luxury to, at a drop of a hat, change our vacation time.
Wow.
Like, and I tell people, I'm like, look, things have been better since the Target days for those who've been following me. Things is better. I'm eating a bit better now, people. I'm eating a bit better now. I got a little weight on my stomach. I feel good. Okay. I can buy Heroclix. All right. But I work as a contractor in a federal building.
Okay.
I have to put out my vacation time like 3 months out just to guarantee that I get it. When it goes into that when it goes in October is me cutting it close. Like no one does anything in October, so I can go to October. Right. And I have to cut it close because I get 3.3 hours per pay period, which is every 2 weeks. So if I get sick multiple days, that's a day that I'm not going on a trip. Like I kid you not now, if I go to a doctor, I take half days. I don't even take a full day off. I take a half day, then come into work being sick. So I can save up to go to these tournaments. And you're going to tell me, hey, guy, I know that you're a working class individual, but I have the luxury of working for a game company. I get to go to these conventions all the time. And you know what? I'm just not feeling Origins anymore because they're done rubbing my back. And so PAX decided to come up and they gave me that golden handshake of fellowship. And they decided to rub my back some more, give me a nice comfy chair and rub my feet. And I'm going to stay here until someone decides to do something better. And that's pretty much what we're dealing with. Now, they could say like, hey, isn't it reasonable that we have a national championship and it's separate from a world championship? And I'm like, yeah, but you have no comprehensive tournament structure that's worth a darn. And because you don't have any comprehensive tournament structure worth a darn, we don't know which way the wind is blowing. So last year, top 4 got to make it into nationals. And then the year before that, first place only. And then we complained. So then you made it top 4. Everybody was happy. Nobody had any problems with that. Then you announced first place only. Well, why is that? Well, because last year at Origins, y'all could barely run nationals and keep it on time. And so you cut rounds short, and I'm gonna cut myself right here. I'm gonna cut that off right here. I'm gonna pull back. Anyway, I'm not gonna rant about last year's in nationals, but they couldn't run the tournament. Okay,
because of the volume.
Because of the volume. Right. Okay, and then run the 15 other little swirly, crazy things that were going on with them. Okay, and then you go and you look at the staff. They're stressed because they're running 3 major world tournaments back to back to back.
Yeah.
And the only light day is Sunday and Wednesday. And they are not smart enough to do stuff on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah. They had a couple of grinders, if I remember correctly. We got 2.
They could have just been. This is a thing that for people who haven't ever been to Origins, you might not know this. You can get into the play floor early if your event is scheduled early.
Yes.
All they have to do is schedule grinder qualifications at 10 a.m. And then we flash our little tokens and say, look, we can get in early because we signed up for this unlimited event. Mm-hmm. And then everybody gets past the guards. We line up, we put in our names, and we start playing freaking grinders. It's not rocket science. But, if you've been a vendor for the last 5 years, you wouldn't know that. So, like I said, this is an organizational problem. And if they move into PAX, one of my homeboys told me, PJ told me, is that if they move it to PAX Unplugged, which is more than likely what they're going to move it to, that's a big League of Legends convention. Oh, and those tickets are highly contested. So, that's a problem. Gen Con's tickets are sold out last year. And so if they move it to Gen Con, then it's a better party. I'm going to be honest. It's a better party. I would rather be at Gen Con, have us all at Gen Con than at Origins. But if you go to Origins is perfect for playing Heroclix. Gen Con, you get there and realize there's sexier games around.
Okay, yeah.
Intersects to your games around.
You're the big fish in the pond at Origins.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell that when you walked in. They took up the most space almost.
Yes. So I don't get what it is. And even if you move your world championships to the end of the year, the following tournament structure has to change for Wizkids. WKOs, top 4 get automatic bids into nationals. Okay.
Right. I agree with you.
Then you go into nationals, and you really only have one season for WKOs. You don't have them split like fall and spring and fall. Yeah, spring and winter. You have to have one time, and it may be a 2-month block. Okay, so you have your qual time. Then you go into U.S. nationals. So and the reason I say top 4 is you need enough volume for people that can attend. Okay, and you make it one day. Okay, so no grinders to get into US Nats, none of that crap. You just come in, say on Saturday is US Nats. Boom. Everybody buys their 1-day ticket and they go, and they might buy a 2-day ticket. They'll come up the day before, play battle royales, have a good old time, buy their con exclusives, and then go the next day, play US Nats. Once they finish with US Nats, you're done by 9 p.m. Set your flight around 10 or 11, go back home. Right. Okay. Top half of the bracket of US Nats, or even say top 16 or whatever, get to go to Worlds. Every country that has people that have national tournaments or whatever, they're top 32 because good luck coming into the United States.
Right.
Okay. Their top 32 players qualify for Worlds. Okay. Because then you might get maybe 20 international players. So it's a 20 to 30 international player pool versus what would functionally be like an 8 to 10 national pool. And then it actually is a world tournament. And then you know what? You didn't even have to hold it at a con. And the only reason that they hold it at the con is because they're already at the cons and they're trying to recoup the cost of the booth at the con. That's the only reason these things are at the cons. If they learned the lesson from Rocktober and it was about us playing, they would find a private venue, hold at a private venue, stream everything, have everything like if the Chuck E. Cheese of HeroClix. Okay.
Yeah. You could put on an event. You could put on a real event.
Yeah. And they could be there, have meet and greet, shake your hand, talk to the guy that builds your stuff, yell at him, and buy him a beer. And you know what? Everybody would show up to that party.
Oh, yeah. And you talk about the publicity you get. I mean, the podcast would show up and then transmit and do, and free publicity. Yeah.
But now here's the other problem. And I talked to Howard, and Howard said, Wizkids isn't competing, but they're not talking to The Rock. It comes down to this. I got money to go to The Rock. I got time to go, to The Rock. It's cheaper to go to The Rock. And you're telling me that I'm going to go to Philadelphia?
Yeah.
And go to PAX Unplugged with a high inflated market of goods, and it's Philadelphia? No offense to people in Philadelphia, but I saw a dude eat horse poop when y'all won the Super Bowl. I saw a video of that.
Yeah, there you go.
I saw a video of that. So I'm just saying, it's maybe not the best place to be. The cost of living is higher in Philadelphia, and the tickets are going to be higher for Philadelphia, and for real, the room rates are going to be insane because it's PAX. Yeah. So, economically, if you look at my year as a player, I've gone to a WKO, maybe 2 or 3. So that's 3 events right there. I qualified for nationals. I went to nationals. I've gone to maybe 1 or 2 rocks. So I'm up to 7 events.
All right.
6, 7 events. Then I go to Rocktober. That's 8. And then I go to Worlds. That's 9. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's that's a huge commitment, and in the end, which one's going to take the precedence? You can't go to all of them. I mean, it's just going to be, you're going to have to make a choice. I can tell you my opinion is I kind of like that I thought I heard, maybe it's you or Aaron Cantu, it talks about, Nationals only gets a day. The guy's crowned Nationals champion, and then one day later, he's worried about Worlds, Yeah. So I like the split. What I don't like is the timing of this announcement. Should have been made last year, right after Origins. You knew you were going to do this. Should have said, okay, guys, we're doing a change. This is where we're going to do it. This is our tournament structure. Everybody knows it going in. We all have to make plans. We're adults. It's not like it is. We can't drop everything. We're not professional players. There's not a professional league. It's not like PGA or something like that. We're going to this event. I think in the end, to make nationals successful now, and this is my opinion, you can disagree with it, they're going to have qualifying events to get into nationals at Origins. Otherwise, I don't know how many people are going to show up.
This is, you can even put a notice for anybody, like fast forward 3 hours in.
Right.
Like, this Darklogos drops a bomb. If they don't make a change, there's a protest. And then Wizkids loses a lot of money. If changes are made to do this next year, everybody's less pissed. The later end of the year stuff is still going to be addressed. And then either Wizkids or Rocktober has to make a change.
Right.
And unfortunately, Wizkids is probably going to pressure Howard to make a change, which I think would be unfair. Okay? Because they already started to be a little sly putting WKOs in November. I'm just saying.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
trying to think. Let me just butt in. I'm sorry, I'm butting in, Edward.
No. Go ahead. It's your show. It's your show, man.
No. I am just helping you. I'm just facilitating you. No, I'm just. It kind of ticks me off because I think Rock has done a great job in helping build the competitive base as a more consistent. Maybe I'm wrong in that, but it feels like
you're right.
Rock has been more consistent in building the competitive base, and now you're going to come in and just kick Rock to the side a little bit and try to get the competitive base to come to your side. It kind of ticks you off a little bit. Anyway, sorry.
Well, it's this. Okay, they hired a person 2 years ago to run competitive, and last year was his first Worlds as being in charge. And I don't think he did a bad job. I think there was some things just he couldn't do anything because they wouldn't let him.
Right.
And if this is if this is Wizkids allowing him to do his job, it makes sense. Okay. The problem comes in again, culture. If you have a corporate culture of screw them fools over there, we about this money, man. It's easy to look at a us versus them, considering some people that have come from the us side, when they get into Wizkids culture, go, hey man, what about the us? And then they're like, hold on, wait, no. You're part of the them now. You're on team them. You're not on team us. You're on team them. Okay. Get rid of that us jank. You're on team them. And so there's conflicts, and so that's happened before. I mean, old names like Brother Magneto was one. They had another social community guy in there. It was something boy. I forgot what it was. It wasn't Cosmic Boy. It was something boy, and he had issues with the culture. They had the guy that was doing the first draft of the print and play, where he was just putting the replacement cards up online. Right. And putting the pogs up for you to print off. He was in that culture. Then they kicked him out. He was a proofreader and going through the text of the cards, and they kicked him out. Like, anytime us part becomes part of them, unless you abandon the us part, you can't be them. And so they don't understand how our player culture is situated, and let alone they don't understand how the last two companies that have held this product has influenced the current culture.
True.
They don't get that. It's not like they just sat down with the old elders of the game and then we sat there and spun wizard stories. And since like, behold, you sit down, throw the lighter down and the flame appears, and then they throw the little Eye of Newton dust crap in there and it turns blue. And I was like, let me tell you the story of the way back.
Yeah.
The dice first appeared in the hands of Superman. They're not willing to sit down because to them, they know it all. And for the pure fact that they won't go on a show anymore that wasn't softballing them questions and this again, this is actually that's wrong because I'm citing Push to Regen and they can't defend themselves anymore. The only show Current Wizkids has ever been on, to my knowledge, was Push to Regen, and really? Push to Regen gave them softball questions, like really softball questions. I've had Norm on my show, The Worlds After Spiral. And I remember specifically, I interviewed Patricia Lamb, Daniel Joins, George Masu, and somebody else. Okay. And I said, like, yo, here's all the audio. I'll give you the raw of the audio. Okay. And so when I interviewed Norm, I had to submit the final cut to Wizkids, to give to Norm, to give to Wizkids for it to be approved. I get that. They're a corporation. They want to make sure that everything's on the up and up, and Norm didn't say anything he wasn't supposed to. But the fact is, it's like you could have easily followed back and said, okay, this guy cares. What are the real questions that need to be answered without us giving away proprietary information? I'm not asking how the sausage is made, how the dials and the numbers appear. I want to know specific things, like why is it that we look at the medicine that the majority of the figures are of super rare and higher rarity? That's the major composition of the team. You know, something like that. It's like this mainly happened after you shifted to complexity of powers being based off of rarity. What's your, you know, like I have real questions. I'm not just a bitter dude on the internet.
I'm not just roaming around shouting to the moon. You know, I've got real questions.
I'm not a lunatic yet, but yeah, like overall, for me, at worst, my con season is over until Rocktober.
All right.
For the best, I'll be able to go to Origins and everything is as normal. So whatever lands in between there, I have to look at it as commander in chief, and I'm not just planning for myself. I'm also planning for 10 to 12 other individuals behind me to be following.
Right.
So those are things I have to look at now.
So let's be just real right here. So let's say I'm going to guess the structure is going to be you have the ability to grind your way into nationals. You have your ability to grind your way into worlds. You might get an automatic bid if you win nationals. Your decision. You're the coach. What are you making? Is that PAX Unplugged or Origins? Do you go to both? What are you going to really push?
If I had to make that decision today, based off of the information I have, and again, I haven't looked on 8C Realms to see the Gamma presentation if that's out yet. You know, the magical dude from the internet. Magical dude with the camera that somehow is able to sneak in every year
and get this great view of
a great view. That magical camera hint. Yeah, that records everything. Hint. That's not supposed to. I haven't seen his video yet. So if there's something said in that presentation or there's a magical press release put out before we started recording, I haven't looked at it. So I want to preface that. If I had to make my decision today, I would say this. We're going to turn Origins into a business trip, reduce the amount of days that we're going to stay there. I was already leaving on Saturday to have Father's Day with my father. And in the back of my mind, I was like, if it left Origins, I wouldn't be mad because I can have Father's Day again. And that's not just me, but other people in the group.
That's understandable. Yeah.
So I'm like, yo, we are going to turn this into a business, and I'm going to get as much capital as I can and roll with the handful of people. If I qualify for nationals, we go there for a day before nationals, and we get there, buy all our con exclusives for our locals and our group and everybody else, and get enough to flip, send them, on home. Because we have a guy that's doing drive anyway, like several guys are doing drive. We compete and then say screw Worlds. Just say screw them and out of protest. And just to make understand like how much money is lost, and I'm going to put it into very quantifiable terms. We at minimum are going to run 3 teams. So that's $75 each. Okay. we would at minimum run, because I'm bringing like 10 people. We probably have 10 people plus somebody else's friend. So let's just say round it out, we have 12 people. That's 12 entries for grinders that you're not going to get. And if we don't do well, let's just say we do okay, and we have to go through 2 grinders each. Okay, so multiply 2 times 12. So that's 24 entries that you're not getting money for. Okay, you can go in and say even further, if you wanted to charge to get it to play nationals, $5 multiplied by each one of our guys that are entered into that. And if you're saying that's a free tournament, okay, there's no skin lost. On average, between our players, we do about 1 to 3 battle royales each. So multiply that money out. And usually for most of us, we buy 1 to 2 copies of most of the con exclusives. That's a lot of money.
That is. That's a lot of cash flow right there.
And then I want to just make it clear. That's 12 people. What happens if attendance goes from, like this last year, it was around 200 people to down to 50 people or 60 people? Or hell, you let's just say it's decent, it's 100 people. You've cut your money in half. And you've lost a lot in simple money in terms of running events. And you brought a lot of product that you paid to have shipped out that you can't move and that you're going to have to send back. And you might get lucky to send it to a local distributor or somebody that's around there will buy some of your excess profit due to past relationships. Excess product, so you can get some level of profit off. But I'm not going to say you're going to come out at a loss, but you're not coming at a good lead either.
All right. Okay, and if I'm hearing you correctly, I just want to clarify. So you're pretty much looking at it in the current way you understand it's all going to work. You're all going to skip PAX Unplugged if Worlds lands there, and you're going to cut down your cost at Origins.
Right.
Play Nationals, cut down your cost. Don't make it an event. It is a WKO drive-in. Yeah. Get in and out with minimal purchase, right?
Yeah, and what's worse about this from a cultural perspective, and I'm going to say this is going to be really sad, unless that person is established that wins Worlds this year, if this happens, that person's going to look like a joke.
It's going to have an asterisk, right?
Yeah.
Going to put an asterisk.
It's almost as bad as Paris. Folks will talk smack behind Paris back and be like, and I've talked to enough folks. They'll talk smack about Paris, and he already knows this, that he won because of Faust. And anybody could have won because of Faust, and he won because of die rolls. Whoever wins this year, if they go through that, it's going to be like, you won because the top 5 teams weren't there.
And that's sad that if that occurs, and it's because of Wizkids and their timing their announcement and not doing that, that becomes sad for that person that does get that win, because then you're chasing that. You're always going to have that asterisk. You're always going to be chasing that nomenclature. Paris has been trying to get rid of it, And as you know, as a coach, that's just added pressure on top of a high pressure situation.
Yeah.
And it's hard to handle. So.
It is. And so overall, if you ever want to look at, I've read a lot of stuff on organizational leadership running Phoenix Nest, and one series is like 7 habits of highly effective people, and the other one is crucial conversations. And both of those talk about what is actually a win-win. And a win-win is not that one person gets what they want and the other person feels social pressure and they get the release of social pressure by complying with the other side, and then they get something. A win-win is where both parties are honest about what they want and their end goals, and making it so that both parties can reach their end goals. And because Wizkids doesn't have communication, they don't have healthy communication, they cannot establish a win-win. The only thing they can do is internal culture win, which then puts them at conflict with their number one business partner, which is the players.
Right. We're the ambassadors of the game. We're the ones that draw new players, grow the game. I feel like the players themselves are the ambassadors of the game. And if you alienate that one, don't draw a line in the sand, make us pick. You're doing some stuff.
Yeah, and if they lose, Rock will win.
Right.
And I don't say this like Howard's my friend or Darklogos is trying to stir the pot. Rock will win. And the reason I say that is this. Wizkids is printing money right now with the LEs. And if it gets revealed that, let's say, Lockjaw and Shadowcat are con exclusives, their market value will drop. And if you have something like, and they do that same thing for the WKOs the next year, everyone's going to assume that those figures are going to be con exclusives, and then they're not going to retain value. If those figures do not retain any level of value, people will not show up. Rock, on the other hand, if I win first place, I get a brick.
Right.
Which substantial value goes from a minimum of $50 upwards. Okay. You know, depending on the set and depending on the chase, if you get a chase or prime or anything like that.
I would. Okay, sorry, go on.
No. But when you look at it, and I build towards the World Championship of Rock, and I'm a good player, and I make top 32, I get con exclusives because Howard bought con exclusives. Right. So really, what is the incentive other than me having those figures earlier?
Yeah, and you're, as you said, you're spending a lot of money to do it, and in their new structure, I'm trying to understand how Nationals fits in the new structure with World. I mean, I agree that Nationals should have their own champion; they should be celebrated. But I mean, World's going to be Worlds, and if you're going to have this kind of competition, who are you going to choose? I don't know.
It all comes down to this, and I talked with the person who go unnamed because they actually are, I don't want to say par Wizkids. They deal with Wizkids.
Okay.
It comes down to this, and he asked me, "What is the value of U.S. Nationals to you?" And I said, as a tournament, I look at it as the East Coast Championship because previously and historically, it's mostly East Coast players that showed up. Right. Before it was at Origin, it was held in a venue. It was held in an East Coast venue. It's the East Coast Championship. Okay, now you stop it from being the East Coast Championship and you make everybody else show up. Why? Because there's a higher stake there that made the value of that tournament better. Before the 8-point system of last year, Nationals still didn't mean nothing.
Right.
Because it didn't have any impact on anything else.
Right.
Okay. Oh, first place, and I'm not kidding this. Only like first place got a bid into Worlds automatically. So again, what was the purpose of going through Nationals? To get swagged out? Okay, cool. So everybody that was in the top 16 got swagged out. The rest of y'all just played Heroclix. Congratulations. Did you have fun? Great. All right, good. So that time you spent was just about having fun. You got very little return on it. Okay. Then you go into this year, last year, it's like, hey, I have the point system. I get 4 points for just being here. This has value. Oh man, I'm on the bottom half of the mountain. Whatever. All I gotta do is be in the finals of a grinder and a grinder pot, and I'm in Worlds. Heck yeah. So now it has value. Okay. Now if it comes back to the actual title itself being valuable, make it so that title says every national champion, you don't get to design a figure, but you get to pick a figure that we're going to put in a set in the next year and a half.
Right.
Oh gosh, everybody will love Nationals because the prize is worth it. It's not just a bunch of old crap we already have that we're just going to sell anyway.
It's a unique prize that you have no access to.
Right. And then you still make Worlds. You can make Worlds invite only, or you can make Worlds limited grinders or whatever else. But then the prize of Worlds is I get to make a figure, not just pick it with Wizkids Insight, quote unquote. Okay.
Yeah. Well, so this will be interesting how all this plays out. I had already booked my hotel. Oh man, a year in advance. About 7 months in advance. I already booked my hotel for Origins. I already bought everything. And this announcement came out, and it's had me struggling. So I will be at Origins. I'm a little disappointed that Worlds isn't going to be there because it's always nice to have both of them there. So, you could try. But I'll be interested. I'll be really disappointed if they don't put, since Nationals is going to be the main tournament, I'll be disappointed if they don't put some kind of qualifiers that you can get into Nationals there. Because I just don't think the Nationals will be a lower attended. I mean, what do you think? 50 players in Nationals if they do invite only?
Okay. And here's the thing, 2 years that was invite only and it was around 50 players. So I would say if they stay the way it is and the protest happens from the ones that I already know, you're going to probably see around 25 players, maybe 30 pushing it. And if they offer grinders to get into Nationals, everybody that earned it the hard way will have massive pushback. Because you're talking about being in a grinder if you're already at the event and then spending 3 hours total if you win your grinder, and maybe at worst a day versus like me who's gone to 1, 2, 3 WKOs and I have 2 more, and the time that I put in for that. Oh yeah, you're gonna get a cultural pushback, and it's not gonna be pretty.
It's gonna be some more asterisks. It's going to be...
Yeah. And if a grinder person wins, then you have functionally turned WKOs into super prize mega venue events.
So you devalue them too.
Oh, yeah.
So you're devaluing stuff.
Yeah.
So, so this is a treacherous step. I won't say treacherous. I mean, we're still just playing for plastic superheroes, but it is a culture. It's a organizational step they're going to have to be careful with because it could blow up a little bit this year. This could be a blow up year for the tournament scene, and they might have to rethink everything. I do wish they had a more structured tournament culture, But
yeah.
Anyway, I am, man, you are a wealth of knowledge. I'm just going to tell you.
5-hour show.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm probably going to split this into 2 episodes just so people can digest it because you have great stuff in here. You have talked about some great stuff. I really do appreciate you showing up and doing this. I mean, meeting you has just been a blessing. Hearing your thoughts, just kind of, it's a great. I think players need to hear those thoughts. You bring some great points to the issues.
Thank you.
I mean, it's been awesome. So I'm gonna do the end of the show, and I'm gonna show some shout outs. Devin for being on last week. He was awesome. He was great to give me an intro into his last little team building video. That's awesome. Jesse, John Carl. I don't know if you know John Carl. He's dealing with the death of his daughter, and they were having a benefit tournament for him up in Michigan. And I was able to play him this past week online. It was awesome to get with him. Symbio for all his advice. Mark, my buddy, my Heroclix buddy, Malcolm, who he always sends me questions. He didn't for this one. So,
man from Japan.
Oh, yeah. International Man of Mystery, as I call him.
Everybody knows Malcolm.
Yeah, so Malcolm has not sent a question, but I hope to hear from him. All who've helped me on this journey, I'd like to just throw a great thank you, Jesse, Michael, all of you, Matt down in Asheville. Hey, do you have any shout-outs, Edward?
Oh, to my team, man.
Oh, Phoenix
Nest, baby. Because it's too many people, so I can't list you all. So I want to just clump everybody up. To my mom, who you probably heard in the background, some random thing, unless you did a really good job editing. I have people that train me and gave me insights. I don't remember the cats on Ventrilo, but they started me on the meta understanding. And then at my current stage, I learned from 3 great masters. It's and I've said before, it's George, Daniel Joins. Sorry, George Masu, Daniel Joins, and Alex Avila. 3 great masters of Heroclix who have taught me a lot and made me a good chunk of the player that I am today. So shout outs to them.
Shout, because you can tell you are a great player and a great coach. These party shots, email your comments and questions to lostinclicks@gmail.com or contact me on HC Realms under the ID of Colossus TN. Like our Facebook page. You can search on Facebook by typing @Heroclix Borderlands. Please rate and review the podcast under iTunes. They love to hear about that. Love to hear about your new WKO ideas, thoughts, questions. Please contact me and let me know. Love to hear from other viewers about their thoughts on Origins and Nationals and Worlds. I just want to thank Edward for being on the program. It's been great. I will just leave y'all with this. All you need to do is keep rolling double sixes, because with double sixes, you never miss. Talk to y'all later. Bye.